Hello everyone, here's a video for today, and what I have is a problem from your book, and you'll see it. It's probably problem number 39, and it says, in a survey of women in the US, the mean was 64.1 and the standard deviation was 2.171 inches. So find the 95th percentile and find the first quartile. And just before we begin, let me mention that the first quartile is the 25th percentile, right? Because 25% of the data is below it. So I want you to think about those problems. What do they look like as a picture? And how would you think that you would do it? So I got the z equals 1.645 from the table, and that is the same number I get when I use the inverse normal. And just so you know, the inverse normal statement would look like this: inverse norm 0.95, 0, 1, and that's also equal to 1.645. So that gives me a z-score. All right? But 1.645 is nowhere close to 64.1 inches. All right? So what's the z-score telling me? And this is an important idea. This is the big idea of this lesson. And so listen carefully as you watch this video to what I'm about to say. The 1.645 represents how many standard deviations away from the mean the 95th percentile is. So this z right here, which is now 1.645, is 1.645 standard deviations above the mean. So what we want to do is figure out how many of these standard deviations are going to equal 1.645. Okay? So I want you to think about that and how we can figure out what number in the data will correspond to that. So have you figured it out? The answer is, to the question is, since z equals 1.645, that's how many standard deviations, and this is what a standard deviation is equal to in the data. Since we know how many and we know what a standard deviation is equal to, all we have to do at this point is take the 1.645 and multiply it by the 2.71. And that will turn the z-score into data standard deviations. And when we do that, I just did that on my calculator, I get the number 4.46. Therefore, I know that I'm 4.46 inches, no longer standard deviations, but inches above the mean. Since I'm above the mean, that means I need to do what? That's right, I need to add. So I take 64.1 plus 4.46, and that gives me 68.56 inches is going to be the 95th percentile. Now think it through. I'm going to give you a formula and then we're going to do another problem. And so what I have for you at the bottom of this page is a procedure. And here's what we did, and see if you can follow along. Number one, we drew the picture first. So here is number one in the problem. We drew a picture so we understood what we needed to do. Then we found the z-score, and that's what we did here. And you can use a calculator to do that or the tables. I don't really care. Both of those are okay at this point. And then number three, we needed to convert the z to actual data. And how do we do that? Well, first we took the z right here and we multiplied it by the standard deviation. And then, since this is z times the standard deviation, we added that to the mean. And so the formula is data x equals z times standard deviation plus the mean. And that's how you convert z-scores to data. And that's what this problem set is going to be. So on the next slide, we're going to find the first quartile. And so we're going to find the first quartile where the mean is 64.1 and the standard deviation is 2.71. The first quartile, as we said before, is the 25th percentile. So what we can do at that point is we can draw a picture. The 25th percentile is going to be in this half. And we know that that probability there is 0.2500. Therefore, we want this z-score, and we can look that up in the table, or we can do it on an inverse normal. I'm using the table right now, 0.25, and it looks to be negative 0.675 approximately. And if I did it by inverse normal, I would have had 0.25, 0, 1, and that would have equaled, and I'm doing that right now on the calculator. So I'm just showing you it doesn't take very long to do it. It takes me longer because I'm trying to write too. But I get negative 0.674489. So you can see our guess from the table and the answer from the calculator, both either negative 0.67 or 0.68 would be a close enough guess. So what we have found, first of all here, is we have found the z-score of the first quartile. So at this point, all I have to do, once I got the z-score, is I just need to convert that to data. So if I convert that to data, all I need to do is use the formula x equals z times the standard deviation plus the mean. So that's equal to negative 0.675 times the standard deviation, 2.71, plus the mean, 64.1. And when I calculate that out, what I end up with is 62.3 inches. So that represents the first quartile, or if you wish, the 25th percentile of the data.